Welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. And this week, Sonic Scoob, there's ghosts everywhere! We're talking about Ghost Island! Cue the music! Hello there, Capers, and as I said, welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. My name's Scott James Merridew, and this is a show where we talk about various geek and nerd-related topics, and I'm joined each week by a very special different guest. Now, a few weeks ago, we talked about a horror comic, so let's keep that train rolling with Ghost Island. And I'm joined by the writer/creator for it. Please give it up for Joseph Oliveira.
Hello.
Oliveira.
That's it.
Oliveira, why did I get that wrong? Damn it, and I asked about it before we started as well. God, I'm useless. Don't blame me, Capers, I'm ill. But how are you, Joseph?
I'm very well, thanks, Scott. How are you?
As I said, bit ill, bit out of it. I have taken like 3 strepsils today, so I'm a bit loopy.
Okay.
I doubt many of the Capers will notice the difference. But more importantly, though there may be a bit of a lurgy going around in my flat, there's some spooky stuff going on this island. And I rather like it.
Yeah? Cool. Oh.
Yeah! Ghosts and shit. We talked about horror a bit a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Mandy the Monster Hunter, but it's always been something I've never really gotten into. And ghosts are part of the reason why, because, let me put it this way. When you're up against Frankenstein, you know what he can do. He's going to reach over and he's going to throttle you. Maybe he'll do a song and dance number. You're pretty sure you're on solid ground. With ghosts, anything can happen.
Absolutely, yeah. I love the unknown of and the realms of that. So of what, and it just adds to the story of what anything can happen. So yeah, there's that aspect definitely. I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, but before we go too heavily into that, before we go talk about Ghost Island, let's talk about you. Who are you? What do you do? What is your reason for being?
So I'm Joseph Oliveira. I'm the writer, creator, and name behind the publisher Afterlight Comics. It's a horror comic publishing house, and we just primarily, obviously, just do horror comics like Ghost Island. Wendigo Wood, our latest comic, Folk Tales of the Cryptids, and yeah, just all the general spooky stuff. When we ever do conventions and stuff, people are always drawn to the table because of the horror aspect. So I think it's quite a niche to have at Comic Cons, and
yeah, I mean,
I've like you said in comics as well, you've never really seen horror comics. So.
Yeah, it's one of the things I've been to. I'm going to slightly more conventions now. I'm up to 4, a grand total of 4 conventions in my lifetime. Look at me, I'm a regular con-goer. But I mean, in the admittedly limited experience I have, I always notice if there's going to be a horror comic booth or table at all, there's only going to be 1, maybe 2 if you're kind of lucky. One that's sort of horror-esque, maybe. So, as you say, it really is kind of a niche, and I wonder why that is.
I think because it's a very difficult genre to adapt into comics, because obviously the big aspect of horror in film is, you've got your jump scares, you've got your music, you've got your, blood and guts and stuff, and I think it's hard to try and get that onto a page and still scare somebody.
I don't know, because there are plenty of scary novels out there.
Of course, yeah. But I think it's because you can't really determine the pace as well, like a film. So
yeah.
you could stop on the page, you could put that down, or you knew. It's
when you're reading a Stephen King book and it gets a bit too gives you a bit too much of the willies, you could just put it down. Yeah. With a movie, I suppose you could pause it. But not if you go to the cinema.
Exactly, yeah. You're not pausing it at the cinema, are you?
I'm sure many people who went to see the other one.
Recent one.
The gunslinger thing. Dark Tower. I bet a lot of people when they went to see that in the movie thought wish they could pause that.
I've not seen it, I can't comment.
I haven't seen it either, and I can't comment, but I did so anyway, because it's my show and I can do whatever the hell I like! Okay, so let's talk a bit about Afterlight Comics. Are you the founder? Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I do I do all the hands-on, hands-off work. Basically, the art is what I get to artists to do everything else basically in the book. But
Hmm.
I do like the lettering, the writing, the marketing, the convention going. Um, yeah, everything
You're on
else.
the front lines.
Pretty much, yeah. Like you said about you done, was it 4 conventions? Was that this year you've done 4 conventions?
This year I've done 2
All right,
conventions.
okay.
And
I
Capers,
do,
if you keep your ear out, I might, and that is a big, big might, do 2 more.
I,
So, busy year for me.
I'd never done I'd never been to a comic convention until last year, and I did 29 conventions last year. You okay then?
Well, I am partially ill and partially surprised because 29. How are you not a ghost? That would
Well,
kill most strong, able bodied men.
so yeah.
That's, wow. So 20. Yeah, so that's. You're pushing the boat up. Well done, you. That's.
No,
That's very good. Oh my god. Oh geez. So Afterlight. So what prompted you to start that?
so we started the very first book I ever published was Ghost Island, issue 1, and that was on Kickstarter. And as I was just finding my feet in comics and trying to find my route and what I was gonna pursue, I had other ideas, like uh, Wendigo Wood and Folk Tales of the Cryptids, other horror graphic novels that we've published, and I didn't want to just be like the Ghost Island guy. So it was like come up with a brand that would be associated with all these comics. So that was the main reason behind publishing a label, really, so people could identify, oh, Afterlight Comics, that's a horror publisher. I love horror. I love comics.
Well, why
That's what I'm
have
about.
one ace up your sleeve when you can have 4?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not how you play poker, but I don't know card games. So.
Same.
Yeah, so talking about horror, so what is it about horror that appeals to you so much? Why do you like doing it?
I just love the feeling of being able to tell a story that builds tension and atmosphere within a reader while they're reading a story, and just like it's so much tension that they want to keep turning the page and turning the page of what um, evolves throughout the story.
Sort of
And
morbid fascination, almost.
yeah, kind of, but I'm not into like all blood and gore, and it's more about it's all really about tension and building and creating an atmosphere for me, and not really
No
alluding to
Halloween, the Friday the
yeah,
Nightmare on Massacre stuff.
yeah, no slasher stuff. But I love films like The Shining, The Sixth Sense, those kind of brooding
I
atmosphere.
see dead people. That's because you live next to a mortuary, kid.
That's a deleted scene, isn't it?
There's a good reason. Your next door neighbour is an undertaker. Oh, no. But it is something about tension. And that's the thing, we're seeing a lot more horror films. It really has become sort of sort of, I want to say golden era, but it's become like a sort of a renaissance recently for horror films with studios like, is it Blumhouse?
Yeah,
Bluehouse?
yeah,
I don't know.
Blumhouse, yeah.
That have been really cranking out a lot of stuff, and a lot of them, yeah, sometimes have a bit of the gore about them, but a lot of them are based on this idea of real tension and atmosphere. I think that's one of the reasons why Hereditary, a more recent
Mm.
film, got so much press and so much critical acclaim.
Yeah, I love that film. I think also I think a film like Get Out as well. That was a
Oh
big
yeah.
success, wasn't it? I mean, I think because they can be really low budget horror films, and they just churn them out and not really put much into the story and just go for the blood and gore aspect. But like you said, in the last couple of years, I think they've concentrated on actually doing a good story for
Yeah, because
once.
the time was all you needed was like 30 extras in bikinis, several buckets of red paint, and a guy in a creepy mask and a fake, rubber knife, and you were golden. Now you've got to actually put effort into it. Oh no, said every other studio exec.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think I mean, here's the thing. Spoke about this before. Horror not really my thing. I don't like being scared. It's not a fun experience for me. And I think people that do enjoy being scared are weirdos. But I do. Having said that, I do understand the appeal. It's that sort of tension, how I might feel when I'm watching like an action movie or something. It's how people feel when they're watching a horror film, and it can lead to some really intriguing concepts. I haven't watched that many horror films, but one horror film that I saw not too long ago for the first time, which I actually really liked. What was it called? A Happy Death Day.
All right, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
I think it's interesting because it brought the horror genre in with something that has been done quite a while in other forms of media, the time loop sort of thing.
Mm.
And they do the obligatory Groundhog Day thing, but they use it to its full experience. What if you kept getting killed over and over and over again, and you had to solve basically your own murder with each day? And it's intriguing concepts like that, and that really shows how people in horror are willing to push the boat out and explore new concepts, or at the very least combine old concepts with the horror genre to create new concepts. Because we both know originality is dead. We killed it long ago, long ago, and then we brought it back to life, and we killed it again, and then we cloned it, and we killed that clone, and we've been doing that for the last 70 years or so. But that's what I think is like about Ghost Island, because it's been described, I think myself and by other people, as sort of, ghosts meet a Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that's right. Jurassic Park, but with ghosts. That's the pitch line. I was at a convention once, and it was like the third convention in, and my friends, I was pitching it to somebody, and I didn't actually make that connection yet, and then friends said, "Oh, it's Jurassic Park, but with ghosts, isn't it?" I was like, "Oh, I should have been saying that all along."
It's the perfect elevator pitch, and that's the thing. There are plenty of studio executives out there that heard upon hearing the word Jurassic Park with ghosts, I am in. Yeah. Okay, slightly weird tangent capers. A bubble just flew outside of my window. Like, you can't see that, Joseph. No one else could see that, but someone's blowing bubbles outside my window.
I think the strepsils have finally gone to your head. I think that's what it is.
What is happening? And why is my mother in the corner of the room playing an old gramophone? Mum, why don't you have a face? Oh God, I'm starting a horror story now, aren't I? Let's do this one. And I think that's such an intriguing idea. I'm kind of surprised no one has thought of it before.
I know, right?
I think you really stumbled onto a gem here. Like, it makes so much sense. Like, let's be honest, this is something the Ghostbusters could have done. Like, if they found a way to display all the ghosts they captured, the ones that weren't let loose by that one stupid ginger guy, then they would have made a lot of money on that. Jeez.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm doing it now, so...
Yeah.
Anyone else, I'll just do that.
Anyone else does it, then they're infringing upon your golden idea.
Yeah. No, well, last year we actually had some TV and film interest in acquiring the rights for Ghost Island.
I am not surprised. How did that go?
Well,
the little that you can tell us, obviously, because a lot of the times you can't, this sort of thing.
Yeah. They wanted to like option it. It kind of tailed off a bit, but it's just amazing for me to see it be viewed in that light, because I'm from a filmmaking background, and
you were nominated for a BAFTA, weren't you?
Yeah, for a young person's BAFTA award. It was like an under 25s thing.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah,
for a short film that I'd made. So it's amazing to see that from another side. From me being making comics now, and like a film aspect coming in to potentially take it on board.
You're an influencer.
God. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is such a classic setup, and it's also not just the whole Jurassic Park thing, but also it's got one of those sort of Agatha Christie-esque sort of gothic aspect to it, because this premise, the setup, is that there's creepy, wealthy, old, recluse, weirdo entrepreneur guy named Deakins, my interpretation, not necessarily anyone else's, invites several people over to his island, basically, because, people own islands. That's a thing that lots of people do all the time. and where there's his mansion, of course, because any horror story needs to have a mansion. That's the law. And also there's an asylum on the island filled with like the worst of the worst people, who are, and except they're not so much people as they are former people, ex-people. Run down the curtain and join the choir invisible. Sorry, I don't know what happened to me there. Jeez. And they're all ghosts. There's ghosts in the asylum, and they're holding him there for the purpose of an exhibit. But he's also just brought all these people there and had them like announce this to them over like dinner and stuff. This is great.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the basic setup. Yeah. They're all like physical form ghosts. So it could look like you walking into a prison kind of thing. They're not like see-through or anything like that, and they're being held by like some kind of ancient curse behind.
Yeah, there's like doors with like Latin all over them. What does that mean, the Latin? Because I don't know Latin because I was educated in Britain and therefore, don't know shit.
Well, yeah, it goes deeper into the lore of like the making of the island in later issues, particularly like issue 4 and issue 5.
Okay,
so I don't want to spoil too much on that one.
No, absolutely, because I've read issues 1 to 3. Those issues provided me. Issue 4 is coming out, or has come out this month, hasn't it?
It's coming out on a Kickstarter on September 3rd, issue 4.
Okay, because it's coming out September 3rd. Okay, well, we'll provide a link to that in the show notes if you. Awesome. Actually, will we be able to provide a link to the show notes? No, we won't. No, we won't be able to provide a link to the show notes unless you give us one.
Yeah, I'll absolutely give one.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very
much. So we're on Facebook, Afterlight Comics, Instagram or Twitter if you want to follow us on there.
Okay, we'll provide links to those, Capers, so you can keep up to date with this sort of thing. Because I think this is something worth watching. But let's talk about some of the characters that we meet. The first main character we meet is Josh Evans, a creepy-looking dude with a beard.
Yeah.
He does look rather bescraggly, if I may say so.
He's gone through a bit of hell.
He has, really, because Josh is a psychic that a well-known, much beloved, and highly respectable profession, who has had a bit of a troubled past, and he's seen some shit. He's seen some shit, and he now basically goes around performing like low-level seances for people. And which goes about as well as you can expect, discovering like murdered children.
Yeah.
Like seriously, that's the first scene. Like you hit the ground running there. You hit the ground running. You do not hold back in terms of the mature themes and content of this comic.
Absolutely. Well, I think it is very much like an adult graphic novel series. I have like 13-year-olds and under come up to the table and like looking at it like, wow, Mum, can I get this? I'm like, I don't think you can.
Billy, no, stay away!
But yeah, Josh Evans, he's been through a lot of shit, like you said. He basically the premise of Josh is he wakes up one night and he has the blood of his loved one on his hands, and his wife, and she's just totally disappeared, and he's under investigation for the murder of her, and he has no recollection or memory of the events that have took place, and that is kind of like the spine of the story of Ghost Island. And the flashback.
It's a recurring thing, because that's another thing I like about this comic. You've got the main plot going on, but you've also got all these side plots going on with all these character backstories, because they've all got actual lives. They didn't just appear in the story and then fill some role in the main plot and that's it. They've all got something else going on as well.
Well, that was really important to me, because you have like you said, we'll be talking about slasher films. You have just like people running around in bikinis or some jocks and stuff, and you're not really caring about the character. I want the reader to be able to possibly relate to some of the characters or what they've gone through in their past, or be able to like feel sympathy for them, so when they do inevitably do something bad happens, you care about that.
Well, so something I will say, like none of them have like happy backstories.
No, well, it's
mind you, it's called Ghost Island. If they did have happy backstories, that would feel really weird.
I think everyone's very as much as split apart, everybody isn't so different. I think they're all very united in their grief, and that was really important to me, that they're going to this very morbid ghost island, and their pasts involve a lot of grief as well. And it's about traveling, like that journey through grief, I think, to, try and see the light to the other side by the end of the story.
Yeah, because I mean, we've all got journeys to go through, and the more journeys you're on, the more places you'll see. And this is turning into a Dr. Seuss book for some reason. Moving on! One thing I will say, early in the beginning of the comic, Josh gets the letter from Deacons inviting him to, Ghost Park, if you will. But in the letter, it's addressed to Josh White, not Josh Evans.
Yeah. I think that was like before he was about to get married, or there was like a fiance. So.
Okay.
And yeah, he's gone back to that name, kind of thing.
Well, how remarkably progressive. I like it.
Yeah.
So that's Josh. There's also Mason, who's travelling there with his kid, who stands out among kid characters in comics in that he stops just short of being really fucking annoying.
Yeah. It's one of those. Well, I don't have kids myself, but I have a lot of friends that do, and they say, like, if you can't have a minute without one of them running off and doing something stupid and not being able to not keep an eye on them for a
Billy,
second,
no, don't pet the velociraptor. Billy, no, don't put your foot in the bear trap. Billy, no, don't go swimming in the hydrochloric acid. That's bad for you.
Yeah, he's very adventurous and wants to go on his own little adventure. So, and his dad's quite old, so he can't really keep up with him. So,
yeah, but they do actually. I mean, I say they stop short of being annoying because he's not annoying. He is, he's not kind of interesting. He's interesting through his dad, because his dad's got the interesting relationship. Because his dad's kind of gruff and grumpy. I noticed with pretty much everyone, but not with his kid. He's actually really nice and supportive. Like, he'll be shouting at someone else in 1 minute, and then his kid speaks to him, and he's like, "Yeah, okay, what is it? You okay? Yeah." And I really like that. It showed that, again, layers to this character.
Yeah, he's probably one of the most innocent people on the island.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And then you've got the arsehole skeptic journalist. Why is it in horror films, or just thinking like films in general, the guy that doesn't believe that the thing that never happens isn't actually happening is always the arsehole? Why is that?
I think it was important to have like a skeptic on the island and to like challenge the beliefs. Otherwise,
absolutely, I completely agree with that. But why does he have to be an arsehole? Why? I'm a skeptic myself, and I find it's always kind of annoying to me. We talked about Ghostbusters before with the ginger bastard, but like. Walter Peck, right, now I'm going on a rant here, now this is happening. Walter Peck goes to the Ghostbusters and say, "Hey, you guys, you're using up a lot of energy here. I work for the Environmental Protection Agency. I need to make sure this is all okay. Could I do that? Well, I'm Peter Venkman, so I'm going to be an arsehole to you. But I'm just trying to do my job. Nope, arsehole! Okay, well, I'm going to have to come back, and, I'm going to be a bit more serious next time. Nope, arsehole! Okay, well, I'm back now, and seeing as you refuse to cooperate with me in, in a very important thing, which would have taken up, required no problems from you, I guess now we've got to shut all these machines off. You can't shut them off. Tell me why. We're not going to explain in any big detail. Well, I'm going to have to shut them off then. Uh-oh, it blew up. Why didn't you tell me that it would blow up? Well, we just assumed that you were an arsehole. But you're the arsehole as well. But he has no dick. How dare you? Okay, yeah, he's a bit of an arsehole. Yeah, he could have maybe, when they told him not to touch the switch, he could have, not touched the switch. Like, if you go into a nuclear reactor and say, "Hey, what does this button do?" And they say, "Don't touch the button," I wouldn't fucking touch the button. But still, a first meeting, just "Oh, okay, yeah, sure, here we go. Right, so this is the machine where we trap or store the ghosts. This is where we do the thing. This is how this works, and here this works. I could share your energy bill, and here's how it all works. I'm not sure I believe you. Well, why don't you shadow us on one of our calls, and we'll show you a real ghost and how we trap it? That makes sense. That would solve the whole movie! Gozer wouldn't come after that! Just a little bit of cooperation, Bill Murray! I'm sorry. I've been holding that in for a while.
I can tell.
Oh, God. Okay.
The thing with the journalist on the island, I think that goes with his profession as well. He's after that cutthroat story. He wants the big story, so he'll do anything to get that. And maybe by means of being an arsehole, if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes.
Well, you know what? Sometimes you need an arsehole.
We all do. Yeah.
Especially when there's dicks involved. Wait, that sounds... Okay, this is going in a bit too much of a Team America World Police type scenario. We're going to move on. And he is also joined by someone who's I can't remember her name, but she's like an apprentice journalist?
Alice, yeah.
Alice, yeah.
The apprentice, yeah.
Who's is much nicer than he is.
Yeah, Alice has got her own things going on as well. She's going through her own grief, and she's like shadowing Mike the journalist. She's kind of doing her own research. Mike's after trying to get a confession out of Josh that he murdered his wife, and in
fairness, he has really good reason to believe that. Like, I mean, we know, or at least we assume, based on what we got, that Josh did not murder his wife. But let's look at it from an outsider's perspective. There was blood found on him, and the body is missing. Like, that is suspicious. I mean, I'm not a detective, I'll freely admit that, but I think that would be suspicious. Like, if I found someone's like, hey, where's your spouse? Oh, they're gone. Why is there blood on your hands? I don't know. You don't know? I don't remember. You don't remember how blood got on your hands? No. Well, gee, Barry, that seems rather suspicious, I think. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, maybe Mike's right.
Maybe he's the secret unsung hero of this whole story.
Possibly.
But it was Alice. As is much better. I did want to. Do you want to go into her backstory?
Yeah, we can do. Yeah.
Okay, so her backstory is that her child, her baby, died in its crib, sadly, of cot death, and no one believed her, and they said that she smothered it, so she joined, wanted to become a journalist to find the truth. Question, couldn't like a basic autopsy prove that it was cot death?
I think there was like a lot of confusion over what happened and in the build up to that, and yeah.
Well, in fairness, I'm on issue 3. There's plenty of information that I haven't seen yet. And I am interested to see where the story goes. And it is interesting because she and Josh develop a sort of bond because they both lost loved ones. As had Mason, who's... Mason's backstory, I mean, dear God, this is getting more depressing by the second. It's called Ghost Island. What was I expecting? His wife got like early onset dementia. Well, dementia at any rate. And so she slowly... lost more of her mind, and she's made him promise that when she couldn't remember her own son, that he would, put her out of her misery, which eventually he did. Dear God. Like, and it's done in a really interesting way, because at this point, when we find that out, Mason's son has gone missing on the island. And like, if there's one place a child should not go missing, it's an island filled with ghosts.
Yep.
That's not a good place to go missing. And he's sort of revealed in flashbacks and stuff when he's sort of really at the bottom of his rope, and it is really impactful, I have to say. A lot of the emotions in this comic really hit you like a gut punch. As much as you do spend your time on the atmosphere and the creepy factor, you will spend a lot of time on the motivations and the emotions of all of the characters.
No, that's really fantastic to hear. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, but like I was saying before, it was really important to it can sound very playing like a cash and grab, saying Jurassic Park but with ghosts, but there's a lot of character development and real people on the island with stories themselves, and the ghost Jurassic Park with ghosts is really like the background kind of to the story, really.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You can never judge a movie solely by its premise or its tagline or its elevator pitch. Like, you hear some stupid stuff around there, but that doesn't necessarily mean It's bad. I mean, like, when you boil down any movie, they all sound big. Like Citizen Kane, that's like the story of a guy who's a businessman.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, that doesn't get across the nuance or the interesting factors of it. So you can't just I mean, like, let me put it this way. Like, it's like what was it? No, that's a bad example. I was about to go into a whole snakes on a plane sort of thing, but that's not as good as this, I'll be honest.
Oh, God,
No. But it's one of, like, you do whatever you have to do to get bums on seat, to get people reading, and once you've got them there, that's when you actually do something really serious and just do something really interesting. Like, we've all seen the trailer for Mad Max Fury Road, like, what a lovely day, sort of thing. And yeah, it's got that element to it, but it's also got the emotional side, and it's got no marketing, no matter how good, can ever truly convey what the experience or the feel of these characters is going to be like, and their emotional journey. It's never going to do it justice, because you can't compress the content or the themes of a whole, like, is it 5-part, 6-part comics it's going to be?
6-part, yeah.
6-part comic, into just like a few worded sentence, or you can't. No, it's just like you can't compress the whole feel of a movie into a 2-minute trailer. You can come close, you can give people a general idea, but you can't fully engage them on that level, nor should you, because if you did, then bye movies. We just watch 2-minute trailers, and that'll be us. We'd be satisfied with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, like, the thing with Ghost Island, because it's horror, you might expect, or, you know, just quick deaths and things like that. But I think the most important and most memorable, like, stories and making it more unique in horror, that it's rooted to, like, a real emotions and stories that people could possibly relate to, and that makes the horror a bit more 3D in that aspect, you know.
Yeah, because one of the big things why the Halloween franchise, Michael Myers, has had so much mainstay, and it's still going even now. They're getting another one out recently. It's because we get really invested in these characters, and we want to see them survive. We're interested in their journey and how they progress, and that's why some of the best horror films stay, and some of the worst horror films, like zombie cheerleaders, a go-go, fade into the background, because we don't care. If we don't care that people are going to about these characters in the journey, then we won't care when they die. And it's basically just like, oh, look, we've got a cast of characters here who are basically up on the ghost menu, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
And we need to have some sort of staying power, and you really do that. And some characters in the comic do die, in rather shocking ways, I might say. I'm not going to give too much away. And it really does have an impact. It's like, oh no, now we're not going to see this character again. Or will we? Because, you know, ghosts, bum.
Yeah.
That's another thing I really like about this premise, is that you've got an asylum full of ghosts, and you take advantage of that by showing, like, the backstory of some of the ghosts.
Yeah, that was really important, because one of the other basic premises I wanted to explore in Ghost Island was, you know, what makes a person evil. I don't believe in, you know, people are just born a certain way. I believe everyone's shaped by their, you know, upbringing of childhood, or, you know, shaped by things that have happened to them. So
we are formless clay blobs that are shaped by the hands of time.
And I think
Scott James Merridew, 2018.
I think there's hundreds of stories to explore on that island. You know, with each of the ghost paths. I mean, that's if something like a Netflix series happened, that's what I'd pitch. I'd pitch it like this: there'd be an ongoing story on the island with the characters, but then Josh would be then tasked with going into, like, each of the histories of each of the ghosts to find out their past, to, you know, then exhibit on the island for the opening of the island. So it would have a lot of potential, like, episodically.
Yeah, somehow, Ryan Murphy just picked his head up and said, "Wait a minute, I missed a trick here."
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. That would be really good. It'd be good. I would. I mean, okay. I say I would like to see a television series about that sort of thing. I wouldn't because I don't really like horror, and that would creep me out too much. But I'd like the fact that that exists. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Let me put it this way. It's like Care Bears. I don't need the Care Bears in my life, but I feel a little bit better knowing they're out there somewhere.
On Ghost Island.
On Ghost Island.
That's issue 4.
Everybody, Care Bear, stare! Remember, don't cross the streams. I don't know.
No, that does sound like a horror film.
Oh God, the ghost killed the Care Bear cousins. Oh no!
Spin off.
Oh jeez, what are we talking about?
What's going on?
I don't know. Oh God. So one thing I do want to talk about is the artwork. So who the artist on this is? It's Annabelle Turleone.
Annabella Torleone, yeah.
Torleone, yeah. I'm great with names. Can't you tell?
She's a Spanish artist, and yeah, she's been working on the issue with me since the first one. She's gonna continue to see the rest of the series out, which is amazing. A 6-issue series is no easy feat to be working on. It's coming up to our 2-year anniversary of working together on this now. I've never met her myself. We've only communicated online in different countries. But it's really cool to be able to work with somebody halfway across the world and put something together like this.
That is the great thing about the time we live in now. Not against you're in Liverpool right now, aren't you?
That's right, yeah.
And I'm in Edinburgh, and yet we're talking like we're in the same room. We're communicating, we're conversing, we're discussing, we're having a chat. And you taking that one step further and creating a work of art with someone about halfway around the world. It's I love that we can do that now. I love that we can put things out there on the internet. This is let me put it this way. Obvious, I know, but without the internet, I would not be able to do this podcast. No one's going to give me a job in radio. Can you imagine? The BBC would have me off the airwaves in 3.5 picoseconds.
I'm sure they wouldn't.
You could just immediately I start shouting at the microphone and start telling everyone how much I hate Jonathan Frakes, and they're like, "Oh crap, we got to get this guy off the air." Oh no, why does he even like Jonathan Frakes? Oh, that's why. Because he knows what he did. He knows what he did. But anyway, so yeah, I think it's great. So what is your? I mean, that is interesting. I do want to talk about what is that working relationship like? Talking and creating something with someone halfway around the world.
It's amazing.
Spain. It's not really halfway around the world, like a quarter of the way around the world.
Yeah, a Ryanair across the world. So yeah, I type all the scripts up and I send them over to Annabella, and literally from day one, I don't really have to make any changes. I lay out the shots and what needs to happen in each panel, and we've just really had a great working relationship since then. And for somebody to get the vision as well, she brought that noir aspect to the comic that I hadn't previously envisioned.
It's black and white.
Yeah, it's black and white. Yeah, I was playing around in the first issue whether it was going to be coloured or not, but she brought such an amazing blacks and greys and that noir-esque feel to it that I was just like, oh, well, we're sticking with this now.
Because it works for it. It works in its favour.
I think so, yeah. It's got the House on Haunted Hill kind of old feel, I think, as well.
Yeah, now that you said that, it's really got me thinking of Psycho and that sort of thing, and that sort of, it's one of those things where it's dark and oppressive and foreboding and atmospheric without looking like it's really, really trying to be dark, atmospheric and foreboding. It's painting a scene and letting the forebodinginess just bleed through naturally and organically, because you see cinematographers and artists really try hard to make something look spooky. And by doing that, it's just you might as well just have flashing on the screen in big neon letters, "Be scared now, be scared now." And it shouldn't really work like that. It should be tense and atmospheric, on its own nature, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's amazing to see as well because it's been, I think it'll be 2 years in October since issue one came out, and it's been amazing to see her journey as an artist as well adapt, and you can see like the style evolving through into issue three and now issue four as well.
Yeah, and
It's so special.
yeah, I just think it really works well. The characters all look pretty distinct from each other, but they also look like they're part of the same world. Oftentimes, you get artists who create different characters, and I don't know, they feel sort of like at odds with each other. Everything feels like it belongs in this world. Everything except for the ghosts, they feel like they're from another world.
Yeah.
I really love this one panel with the little kid who's heard his mum's voice creepily in the asylum, and it's like, well, I'm gonna follow that. Obviously, I heard my dead mum's voice. I'm in an asylum full of ghosts. I should follow it. And then it's just like he's like, Mum, and then he turns around, and behind him is like the door holding one of the ghosts with like a big fucking butcher's cleaver, and it's just like, oh, okay, it's Brown tries a time, okay.
Yeah.
And that's the last we see of him so far of issue 3.
Yeah. Issue 4, you'll find out what the outcome was there.
Oh, now you've got me all tense and excited. I can't handle it. Also, I'm dying. Oh, jeez, it's one of those things where, oh god, now my voice has gone weird. What's happening? My body is changing and I don't like it. I only thought I was going to have to go through puberty once. You lied to me, Mum. There we go. That's about it. It's one of those things where if I cough once, I then have to cough 50 more times because my body hates me. And I hate it.
Just
Damn
get
it.
all out. Just get it all out.
Knew I should have gotten the receipt. Ugh. Anyway, any more? Oh yeah, there's the priest guy who it turns out is an exorcist. Is that the Exorcist theme?
Close, I think. It's close enough.
I don't remember. Do you know, I've had it in my head for the last couple of days. I've had one of the songs from the band Mouse Rat from the sitcom Parks and Recreation in my head.
Right.
And I don't know why. Why is Chris Pratt in my head? Maybe I'm having some, anxiety dreams over what is happening with Guardians of the Galaxy. We're not here to talk about that. We're not here to talk about that. Say that for another day. And he's there just as a sort of like a spiritual security guard, if you will, for all the ghosts, just sort of making sure that everything... Basically, if a ghost gets out of control, that he's there to deal with. Because, let's be honest, if a ghost escapes, that's who I'd call. I wouldn't call a fucking bunch of teenagers in a van with a dog. I'd call a fucking exorcist. And I've done too many Ghostbusters references in this episode already. I can't do a who are you gonna call thing. I can't. It's too easy. It's too easy. But he's also sort of there for Josh. Because Josh is there because he's a sidekick and he does seances thing. And he's done basically to... he's basically, if the priest is sort of like the ghost supernatural security guard, he's the supernatural psychiatrist. That'd be fair to say. Sort of finding out who these ghosts actually are, because they don't know that much about them, and trying to find out, what makes them tick, how dangerous they are, and also get some information out there so that when people, like tourists, come to the sign and see, they can, they're not just looking at a creepy guy with a butcher's cleaver, they're finding out a bit more about him. And problem is, he can get sort of possessed, a bit possessed-y, and things can go rather wrong.
Yeah, so that's the priest's main purpose on the island. He's to foresee Josh's psychic abilities, that he's when he goes into a vision with one of the ghosts, he actually enters their world and enters their mind kind of thing and can see into that, and by doing that he becomes almost unconscious. So it's when he's trying to come back out of that world that he could potentially become possessed by said ghost. So
when he comes back, he brings something with him.
That's it, yeah. All these broken pasts as well. But again, the priest has got his own history as well. He's from the Ministry of Exorcists, and they
Like,
were...
I swear that's a real thing. Like, the Vatican has, like, an exorcism guy on hand.
They don't admit it, but it's said to exist.
Along with all the Nazi gold they have stored in the Vatican Bank. What? Who said that? What?
I don't know about that, but...
I've done research. It's there. It's a whole thing from World War II and Croatia, but that's a whole other thing. I guess you don't know. I tend to get a bit sidetracked. But yeah, I think it's one of those things, like, you would have had to have it there, and I'm so glad you included it, because it's interesting, because it reminded me very much of the sort of relationship between that the priest and the guy from that comic Outcast.
Yeah.
Read that? And that TV series that nobody watched.
Shame.
Like, I think I watched one episode of that, and it was just like, good for you, Philip Glenister. You're getting back out there after ashes to ashes. Like, good for you. Shame it's so fucking boring. I'm gonna see something else.
It's made it to season 2 though, so it's not doing too bad.
Oh, okay then. Fair enough.
Season 3 is coming out this year as well.
What can I say? I'm more of a Winona Earp guy. That's how I like my horror. I told that devil to take you back. That's my jam. But also, another character I really like is Deakins, because he seems, I mean, sort of like the classic sort of entrepreneurial, says he's got the best interest of the public in mind, but you can tell he's kind of in it for the money sort of thing. Like the scene where that really hit me, where he's talking with the journalist about, basically they show the big, like, food preparation area from the old asylum. And saying this is going to be like the food court, and we're going to have like McDonald's and Burger King and KFC and shit, for the kids, because they can be so picky. And John is just like, in a rare moment of actual, fucking sanity and common sense, he's just like, but you're going to invite kids here? And Deakins is like, at their parents' discretion, of course. And it's like, oh, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. You know what you're about.
Yeah, there's a very fine line with Mr. Deakins and his morbid curiosity. Can't say that word.
His curious orifices? What do you want about?
That's a different film. Yeah, between that and obviously trying to make money off the land as well. It's a big expensive production, so you gotta break even.
But it is, it is very human, as you say, because it's one of those things where it's a bad idea, but then that horrible little phrase pops up in your brain, but what if it works? And that's some of the most stupidest things in human history have been done because of that stupid voice and that stupid phrase. But what if it can work? What if it... And you can only really... Yeah.
If somebody could do this, they would do it, wouldn't they?
Absolutely. There would be some nut job. I think, like, if ghosts were real and they could find a way to contain them and show them to public, they would try. And it's one of those things where it would be so easy for you to just completely and utterly demonize him, and you can tell that he's not a good guy, but you can also tell that, like, he doesn't have any necessarily bad intentions. He has good intentions, although I hear the road to hell is paved with that sort of thing. And you sort of when you hear him talk about his passion for it, you kind of get sucked into his viewpoint. There's another little voice in the back of your head saying, like, nope, this is gonna fail, this is going to do, spare no expense, blah 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 blah. And but it's a very charismatic character, I do have to say.
Yeah, that's the way he was meant to be portrayed. Yeah, and I think it's like you said, you kind of side with him, and then you get sucked into his perspective. And I think the important thing with Mr. Deakins is you're unsure if he's friend or foe, and that's what I like, and that's what is to probably be determined by the end of the series of how it concludes.
Yeah, and I don't like the look of that Lance guy, his butler.
Yeah, Lance. Yeah, he doesn't like children.
Yeah, the little kids just sat next to like the displayed head of a boar. And it's like, oh, what's that kind of animal? And then he rushes up to it saying, "Don't you touch it, you little tearaway ragtag bastard!" And he's just like, "I was just asking what kind of animal it was. You're a child and therefore greasy and unclean."
Absolutely, that's what.
I may be exaggerating a little bit, Capers. The actual comic is much more subtle than that. I'm not selling it very well.
I regret not using that dialogue now.
Don't you know what this is? This is a bore, you insufferable ragamuffin. Oh God. That's the one thing I do have to ask. So issue 3 was much shorter than issues 1 and 2. Issues 1 and 2 were like 40 pages. This was only like 20 odd, 30 odd. Why was that?
25, yeah. So issue 1 was 44 pages. That because it was my first comic, it was my first, obviously, learning experience of how to make comics, and I didn't really have discipline then as well. And your usual comic standard is 25 pages, 24 pages, isn't it? And with that, I was just like, well, I got to 24 pages and they hadn't even got to the island yet, and I was calling it Ghost Island. I thought, nah, I can't do that. So it just got...
Well, I've read through the whole comic and there is no island or ghost in this comic about well, there's actually this one ghost, but there's no island. There's no island. There's this thing called Ghost Island. So I am done. I am out. You lied to me, Ghost Comic. You lied to me.
Exactly. So I didn't want to just end it like that, so I went to 44 pages for the first issue, which does sometimes happen for new series, like Image and stuff.
I've seen longer first issues, to be honest.
Yeah. And then I think it ends on enough of a hook to bring you back for 2, and then issue 2 was 35 pages, and it was just about me getting to a kind of discipline, and it needs to be short runs, because obviously 44 pages of artwork is a lot of money. All artists are paid, their page rate that they
they're not necessarily paid well, but they're paid.
Yeah, well, it's what I always pay whatever the artist is is their standard page rate. They've got to feed themselves, obviously, and that's why the Kickstarters are really important.
Because guess what, idiots of the world, being an artist is a job. The horror stories you hear.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I swear to God, if I hear one more instance of someone saying, "I'll pay you in exposure," I'm going to throttle someone. Because what is exposure? Can I spend it at the shop? Can I eat it? Will it pay the rent? No. Oh, I'm sorry, so you're a hedge fund manager. Okay, right, well, I'll pay you to manage my hedge, or whatever it is hedge fund managers do, and I'll pay you in exposure. How's that? I thought you paid me money. No, you manage my hedge fund and I'll pay you in exposure. I'll tell other people that you manage my hedge fund really well. I promise. Fucking ludicrous.
Yeah. So, yeah, all the artists get paid up front, and then the Kickstarters pay for the artist fees as well, and obviously the printing costs and postage and stuff. That's solely it. So the Kickstarters are really important. Anyway, back to the point of why it was 44 pages. To do like 44-page book again would cost nearly $3,500 plus for that issue. So it just wasn't going to be sustainable, to do that.
I think you made the right decision.
Yeah, I do too. And we can bring the issues out quicker as well. Issue 4, that's 2 issues of Ghost Island out this year, and then we'll do the final 2 at the beginning of first half of next year and complete the series now. So yeah, it's worked out for the best.
Which brings me to my next point on what is the future of Ghost Island. I was going to ask what your plans are for the rest of the series. Can you give us any hints or?
So issue 4 that explores the group's pretty much split up at this point in issue 4, and it goes into more.
All right, gang, let's split up. That always works in a horror story.
It goes into more of trying to find the missing boy, and there's honestly there's a lot of twists and turns to come, and possibly an ending that you didn't expect. And yeah, that's issue 4 is September 3rd on Kickstarter, and then 5 and 6 next year. And then, like I was saying before, about there's so much potential for stories on each of the ghosts on Ghost Island. Potentially in the future we could do like one-shot comics that go into the histories of each of the ghosts on the island, so they have their own little backstory one-shot series that could, go in alongside you.
And you could it's such a great thing because you basically do dozens of stories about this thing. Take that, 13 Ghosts!
Yeah, that's it. That's why I thought 13 Ghosts was missing, going into the histories of these very, very interesting looking big ghosts.
Yeah, it would be very interesting. But also something else interesting I want to talk about. I want to talk about some of the other work. So can you give us a bit of a brief overview for the Capers of some of the other work, like Wendigo Wood and stuff?
So Wendigo Wood is a folk horror comic series. We kickstarted it 2 months ago. It's one of our most successful Kickstarters we've ever had, with 377 backers and nearly £4,000. The basic premise of that is a retired war veteran's daughter's been missing for the last 10 years, and one night he gets a phone call from...
Give me back my daughter!
from supposedly her, which leads him to Wendigo Wood. And if people don't know what a Wendigo is, it's like a half man, half cannibalistic monster.
It's like a Native American legend.
Yeah. If you've played games like Until Dawn, you'll know what Wendigo is. And slightly different.
Or the character from the Hulk comics.
Yeah, I've never seen that, but yeah.
It's kind of weird, basically it's a curse that passes from person to person, and he jumps around going like, Wendigo! And it's kind of weird.
It's very much like if you've seen films like The Wicker Man, The Ritual, Kill List. It's got like this cult.
The original Wicker Man.
Yeah.
The original Wicker Man.
I don't know what other Wicker Man you're talking about.
I will not do it. I did gash. No, I don't want to. No, the bees! The bees! My eyes! My eyes! Ha! They're nowhere near your eyes, Nick. They're nowhere near your eyes.
And we've got.
I'm so sorry.
We've got Folk Tales of the Cryptids as well, which was like a horror anthology. 4 short horror tales, each based on like an urban legend, like a cryptid. So you've got like Sasquatch, Chupacabra, Puckawudgie, and the Mothman. And
right. So I am actually kind of one of the things I do kind of like. I am kind of interested in cryptids and those sort of
cool.
legends. Puckawudgie, I know, I've heard the name. I think in reference to like a Harry Potter thing recently. But the Mothman, that's something from like Virginia, isn't it?
Yeah.
Virginia, America.
It's very popular there. Yeah, they've got a statue.
And the Chupacabra is from Mexico, like what was it, Puerto Rico?
Mexico, Puerto Rico, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the goat eater thing.
Mm.
And what was the other one?
Well, it's actually called the Momo Man, and it's based in Missouri. And
the Momo Man.
Yeah, it's like it's very much like a Bigfoot, Sasquatch kind of character. But it's okay. I didn't want to go like down the route of just this is just Bigfoot. It's like more central to that character. But yeah, that we had a different artist and a different colours for each story in that. So there was over like 12 different artists involved, and I wrote each 6-page short story. But yeah, I'll send you the PDF afterwards if you want to take a look at it.
Yeah, I would. That's very kind of you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I would really like to do that. I don't know. It's sort of like with cryptids, it's kind of different from like slasher things or ghost things, because you could sort of well, maybe a bit with ghosts, but with cryptids you can sort of create like it's like a mythical taxonomy or bestiary, if you will, and it sort of lends itself to sort of real life sort of. It sort of blurs the lines between fiction and reality almost. I mean, we know Bigfoot doesn't exist and everything, but we know the Loch Ness Monster doesn't exist, but like we don't know what's down there, and the waters look so dark and scary. And it also sort of fascinates me, particularly like the British legends. A lot of them come out of America and stuff, but I like the British ones, like the Beast of Bodmin Moor and Black Dog and
Spring Hill Jack.
Spring Hill Jack. That's not really so much of a cryptic.
No. Block S you've got as well, haven't you?
Actually, yeah, and I don't know, I find it kind of fascinating. I'm really not sure why. The Jersey Devil!
Yeah.
Well, they think there's just like a devil creature like on a road somewhere in Jersey. Sure.
Well, they've been like our most popular Kickstarters as well, I think, because there's not that been explored in comics as well. Like cryptids and the lore of that as well. So it's tapping into that fan base of people that like cryptozoology.
Yeah,
It's
that's another thing. He's called. That is the technical term for it, cryptozoology, and I find that fascinating.
Well, yeah, there's massive like courses dedicated to it, and like people have doctorates in it and things like that.
You can get a doctorate in anything today, though. You can get a doctorate in food photography.
That's true.
No offense to all the food photographers out there, you do a great job, and yet I never see any of your work and in a menu. Like, if on the rare occasion I go to a restaurant, you never see a picture of the food you're about to eat next. Like some food, like sausages and mash, like you know what you're gonna get. But with other meals that are like specific to that restaurant, like maybe if I saw a picture of the thing, I'd be more inclined to get it, because otherwise I'm just basically reading a description. And you don't do that when you buy anything else. When you get a car, you don't just read a description, you look at the car. Yeah. You know? I can't be alone in this. I want physical... Because, like, it sounds delicious, and then it comes in and it looks like an unappetizing bowl of slop. And it's like, well, it sounds good, I mean, it tasted good, but it doesn't look very nice. So maybe if you actually photograph the food and put it in the menu so I could see what I'm about to get, that might improve the dining experience.
Don't know what we got from this, but...
I don't know either. This is how my brain works, or does not work. Okay, so one other question I do have, this question I do like to ask. What's a story you want to tell, but you haven't done yet?
Ooh.
Your time starts now.
There are plans to tell other stories. I mean, the schedule for Afterlight Comics is filled for 2019. With like 6 more books coming out next year. So there's stories I want to tell, but if I told you now, I'll be giving away all the secrets. You know?
That's a very good point. Yeah, maybe I should stop asking that question.
Stop interrogating me.
I'm sorry that I invited you on this interview and started asking questions of you. What was I thinking?
That's not how it works.
Okay, so one thing I would like to know, you did 29 cons last year. What cons are you going to in the near future?
So I'll be at Thought Bubble next month.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially launching Ghost Island 4, the book there. And then I'll be at London, MCM, and that'll be the last one this year.
Yeah, because I should hope that will be the last one, because after Thought Bubble and MCM, you are going to be tired.
Yeah.
Madhouse.
Yeah, London's crazy.
London's crazy without the Comic-Con. Jeez.
It's true. Having to just get there is crazy from Liverpool on a coach for 6 hours.
Hey. Better be on a coach for 6 hours than wait in an airport for several more hours waiting for a Ryanair flight that refuses to come. Get on the Ryanair flight, feel like you're going to die every step of the way, finally touch down, and then boom, you're in London. That I had to go through recently. Jeez.
Your biggest mistake there was going with Ryanair.
Yes, because that's the thing about Ryanair. People I've never been on a Ryanair flight that wasn't late, and sometimes they're late by half an hour, sometimes they're late by 3 hours or more, and it's just like. And then when I complain about people, always say, "Well, you get what you pay for." Well, no, I pay for the plane to arrive on time. That's like if that was what I was paying for, then that would be advertised by Ryanair. You know. Okay, so all our planes may be late, but at least they're cheap. No, they don't do that. You pay for the plane to arrive at the time they say it's going to arrive, and leave at the time it says it's going to leave. Like, I know things happen, and, schedules get bumped, and, there are going to be delays sometimes, but literally every time.
Yeah.
We were talking about comics at one point. I don't know what happened. It's sort of devolved. Where, Joseph, can people find Ghost Island?
So afterlightcomics.com, you can go on there. We've got digital PDFs or the comic books you can buy directly from us.
Link in the show notes.
Yeah, and if you want to follow us on social media, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You just type in Afterlight Comics, you can follow us on there.
Yeah, and I think people definitely should. This is it's really interesting, and it's sort of, I won't say it's getting me into the whole genre of ghost things, because They still scare me, Joseph. They still scare me. But you know what? I'm still glad I saw this comic, and I think it's gonna go places.
Cool. Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Not a problem. Not a problem. So thank you, and thank you again for joining us today.
Thanks very much for having me on, Scott. It's been a very good laugh.
I'm so glad. Hey, wait, when we're talking about a story called Ghost Island with brutal murders and tragic backstories and like child murder, we need a good laugh. We really do. And if you had a good laugh, Capers, please tell your friends, shout it from the rooftops. And every Friday, go back and listen to some of our other super episodes, like more recently the Mandy the Monster Hunter episode. That was a lot of fun. And you can listen to the show on iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, or at podcapers.com. We have a Patreon. Check out the awards, patreon.com/AP2HYC. If you want to get in touch with us, suggest show topics, or maybe come on the show yourself, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AP2HYC, or email us at podcapers@ap2hyc.com. Thank you very much to Dan Harris for our logo, the lovely microphone with the red and blue 3D glasses. Those are mine. And thank you for listening. This has been Podcapers, the official podcast for a place to hang your cape. Oh look, my mum's crawling on the ceiling, and now her head's turning around and she's spewing vomit on me. What fun! Cheer the music!